Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back for another episode of High on Rugs. Today we're going to be making a Peter Griffin from Family Guy rug in his I just fell down the stairs death pose. I just find that image hilarious and I thought it would make for a really funny rug. So we're starting off by grabbing our tufting cloth, and I apologize for the first minute or so of this video where there's kind of a choppy frame rate. I was using a new camera and it wasn't what I was hoping it was going to be, so I quickly switched back to my old camera. So anyways, I'm cutting out my piece of cloth using the last scraps that I can, which, as you'll see, kind of comes back to bite me. Because this was the last of my cloth, and this piece that I'm stretching onto my frame is just about big enough. But it's not quite as big as I would have liked it to be. You can see there's a little piece of the corner missing where I didn't quite make it, but I still was able to get it pretty tight. I was just unable to get all the lines on the cloth perfectly straight across, which caused a little bit of warpage in the rug later. But once I've got it stretched, I pull out my projector, and then it's time to start drawing the design on. This design is pretty straightforward. It's just solid line work. So I'm just working my way all the way around and doing his plump body, his arms, his head, the curves of his hair, those little wavies, and of course his red scratch marks on the back of his head and the black scratch marks, the little tic-tac-toe boards on his body that indicate that he just took a tumble. And once that's all done, we'll bust out our black yarn and get to making an outline. And for the outline, I'm using 2 strands of black yarn just to get a real nice thick outline. And the outline is always my favorite part to do, honestly. And there's a lot more intricacy doing the curves and all that. So I really like to take my time doing the outline and try to get nice lines. But I'm still learning a lot about making rugs, and I find that sometimes I get my lines just how I like them, but once I fill in all the material on the inside, everything kind of gets pushed around a little bit, and things end up not where I wanted them. So there's a lot of subtlety in rug making. Very careful working my way around his ear, doing these little waves on the back of his hairline, which I thought came out pretty good considering I was doing quick little sweeps back and forth. And then of course the little tic-tac-toe boards to show his dirt and scuff marks. That's about it for the black outline. Now it's time to do his slightly dark foresty green pants. And this part is really straightforward. It's just going line by line and filling it in, grinding it out. This part wasn't really so bad. It looked like a lot, but it was over pretty quickly. Just going row by row. And that's the one pant leg done, the easier one, and now we're on to the other one, which is a little more time consuming, seeing as there's just a little more surface area here. And here's me just showing off a concern I had. This is where the tic-tac-toe board shapes I did were, and they just kind of came through the other side as black blobs. So I was worried about that. But we'll be addressing that shortly. And you'll see that they actually come out pretty good in the end. So now we're working on his trademark brown shoes. And again, this is as straightforward as the pants, just one solid color, going row by row, trying to keep nice, neat vertical lines, and just working it out. And this is one shoe done, now we're on to the other one. Doing the horizontal rows above the sole, and then back to vertical lines all the way across. And then here's me filling in the inside of the tic-tac-toe board, and this was quite a relief for me. I was worried about just seeing the black blob, that I was like, oh no, what did I do? This isn't going to come out how I envisioned it. But as you can see, as I'm filling it in, the shape really starts to take shape. And I go ahead and grab my shaver just to give it a little preemptive shaving, because I really wanted to see, is this going to come out the way I want it to? And I was very happy to see that it did. It looks pretty damn okay. So now we're just working on the white, row by row. This is the biggest area of the whole rug, so this took the longest amount of time. And there I am working on the other tic-tac-toe board. You can see there was a lot of loose fibers popping out, and gave it another preemptive shave. A little sloppier, but it still came out pretty good. And now just working on the final white details, the cuffs of his sleeve, his collar, and I believe that's about it for the white. And before I start on his skin, I'm just doing his red scratch marks. Usually I wind up my yarn, but I didn't even bother with the red, being that I needed so little of it. I just left it right on the roll and pulled a bit out. So I just wanted to show off the color I was using for his skin tone. It's called Soft Shell, found it at Hobby Lobby, and I was worried at the time that it was going to be a bit too pink. But I think in the end it came out pretty good. That was the closest color in the whole store that I could find, so it was going to have to work either way, but I think it yielded a pretty good result. And if I'm being honest, as I'm watching it go in, I can't help but think that this looks like ground turkey. But you know what? I think Peter Griffin would appreciate that his skin looks like ground turkey. I don't know why, but I just feel like he would. So we're just filling in row after row. It's cool watching his fingers kind of come to life. And I didn't really film myself doing his other arm because, let's be honest, if you've seen one Peter Griffin arm be tufted, you've seen them all. So we're just moving right on to the head. It's kind of the same thing like with the black tic-tac-toe boards with those red ones. They just popped out as blobs on the other side and made him sort of look like Chiaotzu from Dragon Ball Z, but just like with the black ones, once I add the details, the shape of it really starts to pop with it. that's it for his skin tone color. The arms and his head are all done, and now we're moving on to the final part, which is his hair, where I honestly ran into a little bit of trouble. I was saying before that, I maybe didn't use enough of this tufting cloth as I should have with enough overhang, but that was because I was running low and using the best piece that would pretty much make it. And so it was stretched pretty thin, and a lot of the brown hair color was popping out and ripping through the cloth, but overall it ended up okay. So that's it for the tufting, and I was just showing that I went back with just a little speck of blue, and I added the tiny little piece of his glasses that you can see. And with that done, that is all the tufting. I'm busting out my Roberts 3095 carpet adhesive, and we're gonna glue the back. And this time I did a very good job of not making a mess. Didn't drop anything really. But I'm just going glob after glob, making sure the whole thing is coated, and then doing my technique from last time, which I think worked out really well. I wet my hand to get a nice slick surface where I can really get in there and rub it all in with my hand, make sure everything is super saturated, super coated with glue, so that nothing will pull out later. And now it's the next day, and I'm pulling the whole thing off the frame and giving it a nice trim around so we can start finishing this thing up. I like to go around with the scissors and cut about a 3-inch border all the way around. Once it's been cut out, we go all the way around, cutting out section by section, about 3 or 4 inches at a time, kind of following the curves of the actual shape. You can see I'm going into where his arm meets the body, where his leg's curving there, and I'm just a little bit of hot glue, rolling it over a little bit so you can't see this from the top, and going all the way around. His head was a little tricky. I had to cut those parts a little smaller to maintain the shape of his hair, all the spikes and stuff like that. But pretty quickly, this is the worst part, and it's over. Got it all hot glued all the way around. And again, I'm using scraps. This is the last little bit of my anti-slip backing material. So I just laid him on there. Luckily he was a perfect fit to, not be wasteful and use what scraps I have left. And so I cut it out pretty roughly, and now I'm going to go ahead and glue it on. I've got my spray adhesive, and it's a lot easier to spray that stuff from an upright angle, so I was holding it upwards just to make the can spray more easily. So I spray the back of the carpet, the back of the backing material, and then get on top of it for nice even pressure and push it all outwards so that there's no creases, no wrinkles, and it looks real nice. And then I'm going back through and trimming off all the excess backing material so you can't see any of it from the top. And once I've done a rough cut, I go back through and nip off all of the sharp edges I created with the scissors until it's nice and smooth all the way around. And now all that's left to do is give it a shave. I love this little jig that I bought. It makes it so that your shaver maintains a certain level as you're shaving. It gives you a real nice surface, and it makes it so you don't take too much off or you don't take not enough off. Just a real uniform finish. And you can see I'm just taking roll after roll of these linty blobs off, and it's just so satisfying. And I think the result was pretty good. So yeah, I was just going row after row, shaving the whole thing down, making sure that there's no stray fibers popping up anywhere, and everything looks real nice and uniform. And then going around the edge, giving it a nice bevel. And with that, it is done. We have a Peter Griffin from Family Guy rug. You can use this as a shower mat, you can use this as a welcome mat, you can put it at the bottom of your stairs. I thought this was a really stupid but funny idea that was just worth it for the joke. So if I had to criticize anything, I would criticize how my black outline came out in the end. There's a lot of stray fibers, it looks a little bumpy and jumpy in spaces, a little blown out, but overall I like how it came out. But if I could change anything, it would be spending more time making sure my outline comes out nice and crisp. But that is a Peter Griffin from Family Guy in his falling down the stairs death pose rug. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. Feel free to subscribe and join me on my journey of getting better at making rugs. So until next time, see ya.